welcome to Mobile GOP Talk. I am your host, Donald. As usual, I would like to start this episode off with get out and vote, not just in federal presidential elections, but also in local and state elections. However, we're getting closer and closer to the presidential elections in November. For us down here in Alabama, anyways. Um, I want to go ahead and apologize for last week's episode. I ran right through it. I got in the studio pretty late. I was pretty tired. I didn't do a very good job at delivering the best quality material to you, but I did promise you that I'd get back to you on one particular story. Last week I brought to you a story about a single mom from Florence, Alabama. She says she emailed Kay Ivy's office looking for help. Um, I want to update you on that story as I I have the email from Kay Ivy's office back to that single mom. If you remember correctly, the single moms claimed that Kay Ivy's office told her that, well, basically told her to put her kids up for adoption. So I have the email right here. I want to read it to you, or do my best to, because I'm going blind in my old age here. I'm not going to read her name, but here we go. Dear Mrs. So-and-so, thank you for taking your time to contact our office. Creating opportunity for all Alabamians and protecting the well-being of Alabama's children, our most precious resource, are among my top priorities as governor. As you likely know, the Alabama Department of Human Resource, DHR, administers several programs including adult and child protective services, adoption and foster care programs, food and family assistance, child support, and more. While DHR is the administrator of these programs and services, the agency must always act in compliance with state and federal law. Furthermore, state law specifies coordination of these programs and services with county uh, county human resource offices, which fall under local government jurisdiction, regardless of the unique program parameters in which it must be administered. The ultimate goal of DHR and the services it provides is simple: to help those people in need. It doesn't really, to me personally, sound like Kay Ivy's office is actually telling this young lady to give her child up for adoption, as she actually put it on her rant online, and as the news article actually stated. To be honest, not in my opinion, but then again, that's just my opinion. To be honest, that email directly states, I mean, it gives multiple different ways that DHR can assist a person in need, as well as foster and adoptive care. It gives multiple different parameters in which DHR can help families in need. So I think somebody was blowing things out of proportion, and I stand by what I said last week. If you really, really want to find work, the best way I recommend finding work is to find a trade, because I mean, college degrees don't really seem to be the way anymore. to be honest, I mean, you can find more work as a welder or a pipe fitter than you can with a liberal arts degree, and that's just facts. I mean, that's just something you might want to keep in mind, ladies and gentlemen. In the beginning of 2024, the U.S. military was at a record low. 2024 started off with the smallest active duty force since 1940. The DoD stated the military missed recruiting goals by 41,000. The military officials want young people to join the armed forces. The DoD reports that only about 23% of young people between, uh, I'm a goof here. Only about 23% of people between the age of 17 to 24 qualify to join the armed services. However, even less than that show interest these days. Now, I don't know about you, but personally, the direction this country is headed, the particular commander-in-chief we have, I wouldn't want to enlist. Now, I just couldn't serve under Joe Biden. I mean, a president or a commander-in-chief is supposed to project strength, dominance. You know, he's supposed to show the world stage that we are, and that's not what Joe Biden projects to the world stage. People are looking at Joe Biden and laughing. Donald Trump gave Logan Paul one of his Never Surrender mugshot t-shirts when Donald Trump sat down on Logan Paul's podcast. Trump sat down with Logan Paul and they discussed a little bit of this and that on Logan Paul's podcast. Trump said he would end the war between Russia and Ukraine, as well as tougher immigration laws. You know, typical Trump talking points. However, he can count on my vote, even if I have to write it in. I'll tell you that right now. I would vote for a convicted felon in a heartbeat. I don't consider this to be political news, but I thought this would be something some of you might find to be interested in. I brought it up to my wife because we're starting to notice more EVs on the road. My wife and I, we live in a more rural area, and it seems humorous to see EVs out in the area where we live, because there's absolutely no charging stations, none in our area. So, I mean, where the hell are you going to charge your car? So, I went, you know, digging around to find a little bit of information about EVs, and I thought, you know, why not share it with you guys? So, here we go. In 2020, Alabama banned the direct sale of EVs. And for those of you that doesn't know what an EV is, that's an electronic vehicle, or I'm sorry, an electric vehicle, which is, a plug-in, battery operated vehicle like a Tesla, or any other fully battery operated vehicle, something you would completely operate on a battery, a Tesla, or I don't I don't know who else makes all whatever. Either way, so Alabama banned the direct sale of EVs to customers, and on top of that, in the state of Alabama, you have to pay an additional $200 on top of your registration fee. You go and you find your Tesla, and you only get 200 miles of battery life, and you pay $25,000 for this car. Your registration is whatever, $360 for your tag and registration fee, plus $200 on top of that. That's just that. Plus you have to go and have a charger installed at your home. And that's not to mention if your battery goes bad. That's an additional $25,000 for a new battery. But let me continue on with the story. Alabama has banned electric vehicle manufacturers from selling vehicles directly to buyers, and instead requires those car makers to send their vehicles to the car dealerships. Electric car manufacturers, including Tesla, usually opts to avoid the dealer franchise model, and okay, that's what it is. Yeah. So yeah, the electric the that's what it is. Tesla used electric manufacturers, and like Tesla, usually opt to avoid the dealer manufacturer or the dealer franchise model, is what they were saying. So this I found, for those of you that live here close to the Gulf Coast like I do, a large section of the Gulf of Mexico, nearly 6,000 miles, will become a dead zone for marine life. Now, that's 600 miles larger than previous summers. Dead zones, for those of you that are asking yourselves, those of you that don't know, I'm going to go ahead and explain, because I didn't know either. I'm going to go ahead and explain to you. Dead zones are areas in the water where oxygen levels are so low that they can kill fish and other marine life. These dead zones like this typically emerge in the water because excessive nutrient pollution pop up, and that is caused by human pollutive activities. We cause stuff like that. That's all you, me, and everybody else. Now, the Gulf of Mexico is beautiful place. We've done a little bit of damage to it. We can fix it. It's not beyond repair. I'm not gonna get all PETA on you because that's not me. State of Alabama is trying to secure a federal loan that could be just what the state needs to kick off the long-awaited Mobile I-10 Bridge and Bayway project. Now this is what I've been waiting for, because I do live outside Mobile County. I do sometimes travel to Baldwin County, so this would help my commute. The project will hopefully smooth the flow of traffic, but the project has been at a standstill since the costs have skyrocketed. I wonder if Bidenomics has anything to do with that. Just throw that in there. Local and state officials have been talking to the feds on how they can secure the right funding and move forward. Now, State Senator Chris Elliott, I think is, State Senator Chris Elliott has been speaking before the Eastern Shore Republican Women's Club Thursday, June 13th. He said he is concerned the project needs a lot of pieces falling just in line so the financing makes sense. He also questioned whether it is a waste of time for local and state officials to reconsider some portions of the project out of concern whether the state can afford it. I dig that, but what about getting a federal loan, Senator Elliott? Not a state loan, but a federal. But then again, I mean, it is a loan, so, us paying it back, I dig that. I dig that. I wonder if no. I know a lot of you guys may not be with me on this, but hear me out. Hear me out. What if we made it a temporary toll, much like the Foley Beach Express? Now that was a temporary toll. They recently knocked the toll down once it paid for itself. Everybody that traveled that Foley Beach Express, they paid a toll, and eventually that toll paid for the express, the expressway. Eventually that toll paid for that expressway, and just like within the last week or two, they knocked that toll bridge down, or that they knocked those toll booths down about a week or two ago. So, I mean, that's just something to consider. Put up a temporary toll. On to the next story. This is something near and dear to my heart because I am big advocate for legalization of cannabis. I believe we should end the prohibition of cannabis. It's been far too long. Cannabis is much safer than alcohol. It's even much safer than cigarettes. I mean, let's just be real about this. I think you guys should pay close attention to. June 14th, Canadian Navy patrol ship sailed into Havana early on Friday, just hours after United States announced a fast attack sub had docked at its Guantanamo naval base in Cuba. Both vessels were right on the heels of a Russian warship that had arrived in the island earlier this week. Now, I don't know about you guys, but I feel like Putin is just pushing Biden, just trying to show how weak Biden is, trying to show the whole world stage how weak Biden is. President Biden kicked off the this year's G7 summit in Italy by signing a 10-year agreement further protecting his criminal assets between the U.S. and Ukraine. Biden signed these documents alongside Zelensky. The deal will ensure the U.S. continues to provide billions in aid that we cannot afford while he continues to neglect our southern border. We honestly need to focus more on the home front instead of Ukraine. We're being invaded, and if you're not watching the news, these illegal immigrants are raping and killing our women and little girls. Pay attention, ladies and gentlemen. Watch the news. Pay attention. An immigrant from El Salvador and an immigrant from Ecuador. Both. One raped and killed a woman. One raped a little girl. Pay attention. They were both here illegally. I'm going to leave you all on that. My name is Donald. This has been Mobile GOP Talk.